Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. I'm refilming. If you saw, I put out a community note that this would be delayed a day because of technical issues. Technical issues have been resolved. Dave's like, why don't you go outside and film it? He's home today because there are dignitaries in town and that turns traffic into a mess. So he's inside having a meeting. I'm going to refilm the weekly wrap up out here. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you. I hope you all find something interesting to read that you may not have heard of, or you leave a comment down below if you think there's something I would like to read. You know me, I'm willing to try almost anything. Okay, so what did I read last week? Well, let's talk about my DNF of the week. And this book has been on my TBR since it came out. It always got pushed back for other things. And I finally sat down to finish it this week. And if you saw my Instagram post, you know it ended up being DNF'd. And that is Jane and the Unpleasantness at Scargrave Manor. This is the first book in the On Being Jane Austen mystery series. I own a large portion of these books, and they are all being unhauled in my next video. So, why? Why am I DNFing this book that I've had forever, that I've wanted to read? And, by the way, the bird is outside, the chickens are out, the dogs are all playing, so there's going to be some background noise. I apologize. Well, because the author could not get little details correct. And little details matter significantly, especially in historical fiction. So if you take a big piece of history and turn it into fiction, that is fine. I have no issue with that. Just like I have no issue if it's alternate reality and a lot of the details are gone. It's, magical realism or, an alternate version of Earth or whatever. In that case, it's okay. But this is just historical fiction and a cozy mystery. And the big portion of history is making Jane Austen a sleuth. In real life, Jane was not a mystery solver. So the little details matter. And for the second time this year, a separate author has gotten mourning rituals badly wrong. And tried to take Victorian mourning customs and insert them into Georgian England and claim that was fact. And it is so far from fact, it makes my head hurt. This book opens up in 1803. George III is still firmly king. There is no hint of regency. He is the king. He is in control. It is called the Georgian era for a reason. And Georgian mourning customs were not Victorian mourning customs. Nor were Regency mourning customs Victorian mourning customs. And you're like, Tammy, it's a little thing. Yes, it is a little thing. But that little thing repeated often enough in a work of fiction gets lodged in the brains of readers as fact. Because it's consistently portrayed wrong. Queen Victoria was highly influential. She, as one of the books you will see on my Prime Day book haul video, the back of one of the books, which is historical fiction about one of her daughters, refers to Victoria as being perpetually in mourning. That is a very accurate descriptor of Victoria. However, it is not an accurate description of mourning prior to Victoria. Victoria changed things. She changed mourning customs. She is the reason young girls dream of getting married in a white dress. Victoria was, I don't want to say the first one because I'm sure there were others, but she is the reason white wedding dresses became a thing. So it's those little details that get oft repeated that are not true, that change perception of reality and history, and that ends up rewriting history, and that does a disservice to those who came before us, to our ancestors, and it becomes much harder to discern fact from fiction. And no, I'm not expecting every reader to fireball, go lay down. No, go lay down. I'm not expecting every reader to notice this or to know the difference. But when you do notice the difference and you know it's wrong and you can objectively prove it, then you need to say something. And I will link the article down below that discusses Georgian mourning customs, and they're very clearly what is not portrayed in this book. This book should have known better. And it failed. And I can't in good faith read it. I can't. It is a big deal. So that was my only DNF of the week. I have 2 books read. I have 2 books listened to. So let's do the audiobooks first. They were books 2 and 3 in the Kaylee Quinn trilogy by Nancy Mehl. For the second book is Firestorm, and the third book is Dead End. The entire trilogy is currently available on Audio Plus for a listen. These are Christian romantic suspense, and Kaylee is our heroine of the series. By the way, the first book is Mind Games. And Kaylee is an FBI agent, and she trains to become in essence, a profiler. And then everybody discovers at Quantico that she is the daughter of a notorious serial killer known as the Raggedy Man. So she loses her coveted position in DC and is transferred to St. Louis, and that's where the books take place. So Firestorm takes place in Iowa, and book 3 takes place in Nebraska, and I may have flipped those. And so in book 2, she goes to help take care of her dying mother at her brother's request, and the bonds of reconciliation begin, and Kaylee finds the town in which her mother is living is experiencing a strange string of fires, and she sees a pattern. Now, book 2 was great right up until the last 10-15%, in which I think the author ran out of words, because suddenly the book went from showing the reader what was going on to telling the reader as it all wraps up. And that was incredibly unsatisfying, because we've seen all the steps, and then all of a sudden, it becomes a word vomit salad, and it ruined the rest of the book. Would I still recommend it? Yes, it was thoroughly enjoyable. It was just, lazy writing there at the end. So book 3 opens up. She's back in St. Louis, and there are a string of recent murders in Nebraska that are reminiscent of her father, and she's asked to go help out again, and she obviously is reluctant to do so. She hasn't seen her father since she was a small child when he was discovered, but against her better wishes, she agrees to go and helps solve the current string of murders. This one did a much better of showing and not telling. However, in both books, I guessed correctly who the bad guy was, and it was still a very enjoyable read. I enjoyed 3 more than 2 because we didn't run into the show and tell issue. And it was nice to see Kaylee come to resolution with the events of her past that quite clearly from book 1 she hadn't dealt with yet. These are gentle, everyday faith Christian books. The faith in book 3 is much stronger than in book 1 and book 2, which is appropriate for the situation in which Kaylee finds herself. So I didn't mind it. It was, however, on the strong side of gentle everyday faith, I will say. I will recommend the entire series. Nancy writes easy to read, romantic suspense, and the romance usually takes place over the entire trilogy. It is more suspense than it is romance, which is how I prefer it. So, easy recommendation for those 2 audiobooks. Next up, what did I read? What did I read? First, I read Always by Jody Hedlund. This is the prequel novella to the August book club choice, which is Evermore. It is the prequel for the Lost Princesses series. I didn't know what to expect going in, and I am thoroughly enchanted. I'm invested. I need to know what happens in the first book. I'm probably reading it sooner rather than later, which, going into my pile of possibilities video last week, I wasn't sure when I was going to pick it up. Now I really want to read it. I have put the historical info on the Discord for August. I have added a discussion category for the prequel novella, which is Always. The chapter discussion links are there. As always, feel free to start discussing even if I haven't read the book yet. Don't wait for me. And the novella is so good. It sets the series up so well. Will you miss anything if you don't read the novella? No, you'll be able to dive into the series without an issue, I'm sure. But the novella just gives some backstory, and it was absolutely fabulous. It truly was. I really appreciate the setting. It is one of my favorite time periods in British history, and yeah, I'm very, very, very much looking forward to this. Okay, so next up, I finished the 12 Suspects of Christmas by Anna T. Drew. This was a cozy mystery set in France, and I started reading it for Christmas in July. I realized it went through Paris and France, so I saved it for the Olympics readathon, which I will talk about at the end of this discussion. And this takes place in Provence, in a couple of cities in France, and it also goes through Paris. There are glimpses into 1960 Paris and present-day France. It was pure delight. It is a companion piece to her existing series, whose name I will put right here. I have not read the existing series. It is now much higher on my list of things I'd like to get to. They're all on Kindle Unlimited. This was just pure delight. We have 2 senior citizens. One is 70. Her name is Rose. Annie is 84. And they set out to solve a mystery from Annie's past. And it is snarky and bantery and found friendship and, learning to go beyond your own boundary. It was just delightful. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the, little history lesson about the French Connection in 1960s and 70s France, which, if you don't know, was heroin smuggling. This was just great. There's even some Provençal spoken, much like Cornish occasionally appears in Julia Klassen books. A couple of, Provençal words show up. This was just fantastic. I was just thoroughly enchanted with this book. It was, there was they were investigating a cold case, so there's no current body or murder to be discovered. This was a cold case from 1960 in Paris that, tangentially involved Annie, and I cannot say enough good things about it. I love the cover. It is representative of those two women perfectly. And it was just fun. Sometimes you just need a fun book, and this was a fun book. So, I read this for the Olympics readathon, hosted by A Lovely Day with Holly and co-hosted by Jeanette over at Jane Reads, and I will link them down below. And the last two prompts that they have come up with, I am not going to be participating in. After the debacle that was the Friday night opening ceremonies, I cannot in good conscience give any airtime to the Olympics. I cannot watch the Olympics and put money in NBC's coffers and the Olympic Committee. I cannot after that. Olympic athletes receive no financial support from viewership. Whether or not they're paid by their own countries, which I don't think any of them are, is a country thing. U.S. athletes are not, and I'm not going to make NBC richer because they are filled with anti-Russian bigotry from the little bit I caught. Every time a Ukrainian athlete comes on, their political agenda comes out, and I cannot do it. It is not in the Olympic spirit, and I refuse to participate in that. So I will fulfill the other prompts as I can, but unfortunately, sometimes real life interferes with reading, and this is one of those cases. Okay, so what am I reading? I have many things in process. I flitted around a lot last week. It was delightful. So I got my audiobook copy of the second book in the Julia Child mystery series. Pickles is going to be loud, I'm sorry. And I'm listening to it. It is absolutely delightful. I cannot wait to finish it. I got it from the library. So I will finish that one this week for sure. I am also reading Sign of the Cross by Anne Emery. This fits on the Olympic challenge as well. Obviously there's a giant gold crucifix on the cover. And this is a Catholic legal murder mystery. I am a little over halfway through. It is set in Halifax, Canada. It is written in 1990, published in 90, and it is absolutely stellar. I have no other word for it. I bought this one on Kindle. I will buy the rest of the series on Kindle. It is a little different in that it is gritty, realistic fiction versus idealized characters that, you know, never swear, never do anything wrong, or, you know, they have some flaws, but for the most part, they're missing human foibles. This book, we have a priest who is very human. There is cussing, but it is appropriate. And it is filled with traditional Catholicism. At the point the book is published, Pope John Paul II is Pope. And it is absolutely gorgeous. We have Gregorian chants represented in the text of the book, Latin Mass, choir, early theology history, early church history. There's theological discussions. And yet this is a very human, relatable book. And you have characters that are not just flawed, but very flawed, and yet perfect for the setting in which they're in. It will go into more detail after I finish it this week, but it is absolutely fabulous. I cannot say enough good words about it. It is absolutely amazing. So, what next? Well, I'm going to give you a little sneak preview. I went to the library on Friday. I had a couple of holds come in. And one of those books is now going to be a vlog. You're getting a special vlog episode. Hopefully it will be done and up this week. We will see how fast I can get these read. So let's just get a quick preview. Okay, so I had 2 books on hold and they both came in. One was a NetGalley arc that I didn't get to in time before release, so I have it from the library, and then I will go post my review on NetGalley. That is How to Age Disgracefully by Claire Pooley, and I'm looking forward to this. And the second one was Every Time I Go on Vacation, Someone Dies by Catherine Mack. So I got home after eagerly, anticipating my books, and Kahlua, don't drink the chicken water. That's for the chickens. Silly girl. Drinking the chicken water. You silly girl. So I got home and I eagerly started reading library books because, I obviously wasn't reading enough. And so I started the Catherine Mack book. Hi. Oh, I know. You're so unloved. I don't think the ladies I don't think anybody needs to see you. I don't think anybody needs to see you. So, it is supposed to be obviously, mystery. It's contemporary. It sounded fun. I will read you some of the inside flap. 10 days, 8 suspects, 6 cities, 5 authors, 3 bodies, 1 trip to die for. All that best-selling author Eleanor Dash wants is to get through her book tour in Italy and kill off her main character, Connor Smith, in the next novel in her vacation mystery series. Is that much to ask? Clearly it is, because when an attempt is made to kill the real Connor, the handsome but infuriating con man she got mixed up with 10 years ago and now can't get out of her life, Eleanor is enlisted to help solve the case. That really sounds like a Tammy novel, does it not? It does. It really does. I was looking forward to it. Eagerly anticipating this book. It's debut novel, and by the end of chapter 1, I had 2 choices. I could DNF the novel, or I could hate read this and spare all of y'all from making the mistake of picking up this book. I decided to do the latter. So I'm going to vlog this one and the Claire Pooley book and contrast them because there is a very big contrast. I will tell you right off the bat, there is language in this book. There is language in this book said in the Catholic Church. There is blasphemy in this book. And we are only on the first chapter. You know I'm going to have things to say. Many things to say. So, you get to look forward to that. Aren't you excited? That's going to come out and, I'm undoubtedly going to do a lot of eye rolling. So those two are on deck definitely for next week because I want to get that done and out as quickly as possible. I have a bunch of audiobooks from the library. Don't know what I'm going to choose. But I'm sure it'll be something entertaining. And you'll find out next week. What are you guys reading? Did you read anything great last week? Is there something I'm missing? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.